Okay, this video is called The Tree of Truth in Vegan World. And the reason for this slide is a lot of people are kind of confused about the different versions of the vegan diet. So vegan diet means you only eat plant food. Some people call it the, plants only, plant-based diet. When you start saying plant-based diet, then it gets mixed with vegetarian and all that. Okay, there's two major schools of health veganism. Actually, there is such a thing as animal rights vegans, and a lot of them are crazy. And in my experience, a lot of them are cow, moon, and then east. Okay, it's bogus. All right. I actually think that's part of getting rid of the extra part of the food supply. Animal foods are a good backup food supply, so it's good to have them around. Okay, yeah, I'm a health vegan. I only eat plant foods, but you know what? I'm glad somebody out there is collecting eggs. All right, because who knows? That could be useful someday if there's a shortage of food in other areas. Okay, there's religious vegans like the Seventh-day Adventists, and some of them become health vegans. All right, but the two main big schools of vegan diet are the very low-fat vegans. That's 10% or less of calories from fat. And that was, the father of that is Walter Kempner, who had some of the best results of any doctor in the history of the world. Him and McDougall are the two greatest doctors who ever lived. Then there was Nathan Pritikin, genius, who really clarified and established a lot of the knowledge about nutrition. Then there was Dr. John McDougall, best doctor who ever lived, low-fat vegan diet, McDougall diet. And then Jeff Nelson really sort of carried that school along. Jeff Nelson runs VegSource. He's a brilliant guy, and he's got lots of great videos on there, some of the best videos you'll ever see on health. Okay, and then I'm sort of the new young guy. I'm 61 years old, but I'm like the young guy in the very low-fat vegan movement. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other good people. I can't remember them all. I tried to include a whole bunch of names. A lot of these names here in lighter blue ink are, researchers or other teachers of the low-fat vegan diet or pioneers in some aspect of it. And there'll be people like Esselstyn, for example. Esselstyn did an awesome job with prevention and reversal of coronary artery disease. And he deserves a Nobel Prize for that, which he'll never get. He's not even in any of the textbooks, not even for cardiovascular disease, because they don't want people knowing about that. But what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of great researchers there. Okay, the people in the midline row are the ones who are sort of like all-purpose, in my opinion, that, some of these guys are a little bit of one-trick ponies. Esselstyn especially with coronary artery disease, T. Colin Campbell especially with avoiding animal protein for prevention of cancer. And there's other ones, Roy Taylor for diabetes, Shellman for diabetes, Brownlee for diabetes, Moore for hypertension, etc. Okay, and there's people in here like Ruth Heydrich, with a low-fat vegan diet. She initially vegan diet, then raw vegan diet, and she's still alive over 40 years later after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So there's people like that. But basically, this is what I see as the path to health based on the literature and the data and an extensive study. But this is not popular because this was a little bit more extreme, a little more austere. And you tell this diet to people, and a lot of them, they think you're crazy. They don't want to do it. Okay, this diet over here, the moderate fat vegan diet, which is usually in the ballpark of 15 to 30% fat. Now, sometimes people in this area will tell you, we actually like our fat 15% or less. But it's pretty hard to be 15% or less when you're eating omega-3 supplements and you're eating soy. Soy is very high in fat. Or you're eating flax. Flax is like 60% calories from fat. Nuts are, typically 70 to 90% of calories from fat. Olive oil is pure liquid fat. So how are you going to eat this stuff and not be over 15%? Good luck. Okay, caffeine also is like psychological stress or sleep deprivation. It increases your blood lipids to mobilize them for energy in a state of stress, because like stress. Okay, so anyways, a lot of the people here, they're very intelligent people, and they do know a lot, and they've done a lot of good things for veganism, and most people will be much better off with this moderate fat vegan diet than they would with the standard American diet or paleo, keto, carnivore. That is all true, but it's also my opinion that this moderate fat vegan diet is really the vegan version of the Mediterranean diet, and it's very popular because these are all very profitable commercial products. Omega-3s, I think their market is in the ballpark of like $6 billion a year. I don't know exactly, but I knew they were $4 billion a couple of years ago. So there's big money selling coffee, selling soy, all this stuff. Okay, and then they're okay with MSG, all this stuff. So anyways, I would see this as a separate school. Okay, don't get me wrong. They've done a lot of good things and they know a lot. But I think if you really want to be healthy, you can't be messing around with eating all that fat. You're going to have a hard time controlling your weight, And, even like Chef AJ, she said, in order for her to lose the weight, she had to quit all the nuts, okay? There's plenty of other people in here you'll see. And basically, my goal isn't just to be reasonably healthy and have a reasonable diet. My goal is what is the best possible diet you could have to prevent disease and to optimize health, okay? So that's where it's coming from. Anyways, that's how I see it, and I know there's a lot of people who deserve to be on here. I haven't included them. I tried to remember everybody could at the moment, but I forget. If there's anybody you think I should add to it, please let me know. If you think it should be modified, please let me know. Anyways, hope this is helpful.